Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life you absolutely love. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy is out today, so we're going to take the opportunity to talk with the person who has been making a wonderful difference in the lives of many of the kids in our Chelan Valley. Frequently, when people think of sporting events, they think it's all about winning the game. Who won the game today? But is there more to that? Is there more than just winning? Are there other valuable life lessons to be learned while honing the skills needed to play a game? Well, stick around because we're going to talk with Phelps from Kahiau Volleyball Club and learn about the important skills she's equipping our young people with for both on and off the court. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions that you would like us to answer on or off the air, you can email them directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. I also want to remind you that if you feel stuck in an area of your life, whether it's financially or in your health or in your relationships, get in action and reach out to us. You don't need to suffer. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. Now, let's get to today's email. It says, "Dear Fletcher, I've heard you talk about personal power. It's something I actually want in my life, but I don't feel like I have much of it, at least not in the way you've talked about it. I wish I felt powerful. I would love to be able to jump out of bed ready for the day, but that's not how it is for me. It's kind of embarrassing, but I usually jump out of bed because I hit the snooze 4 times and I'm running late. It doesn't help that I go to bed usually around midnight. I own my own business and I work from home, so it's not a big deal like I'm going to be late for work, but I kind of feel like I'm cheating myself and not making the progress that I could be making. Any advice? Thanks, Jesse." All right, first of all, Jesse, thanks for reaching out. As I always say on this show, reaching out is a sign of strength, and that means you're strong. And I love this topic of personal power, and I understand that you want to experience more of it in your own life. So I'm going to get right to the point on this. If you want to experience more personal power in your life, then you have to create opportunities for which you will be responsible. Winston Churchill once said, "The price of greatness is responsibility." One could also say the price of having power is responsibility. But we then have to ask another important question. How do we create responsibility? Now we're getting somewhere. How do we create responsibility? Well, we create it every time we make a commitment. You see, when we make a commitment to something or someone or to ourselves, then we have created an opportunity to be responsible. Now, here's the thing. When we're actively responsible for a commitment, we experience our personal power. When we choose not to be responsible for our commitments, then we experience a loss of that personal power. Now, you mentioned your alarm clock, which is a perfect example. Many people set their alarms, and in doing so, they've made a commitment to themselves to arise at a specific time. But most people are practiced at breaking their commitments and thus experience a loss of power. Now, in your case, you're practiced at snoozing the alarm multiple times, which has become a habit. And the result is that you're running late, or you don't feel you're making progress, you're not as productive, or you feel blasé, you don't feel accomplished or capable because you haven't kept your commitment. Does that make sense? So if, as you said, you would like to experience more power in your life, then here's what I suggest. I suggest making more or larger commitments in your life for which you can show up and be responsible. Another secret is to commit to something that inspires you. All right? That's really important. You may not have committed to anything inspiring in the morning, so there's nothing motivating you to get up, right? So you tend to hit that snooze. I meet with most of my coaching clients beginning at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. in the morning. Meeting with my clients is a big commitment and something I also look forward to. I find it inspiring and fulfilling. So it's easy for me to get out of bed. But I usually get up even earlier than that because I'm also committed to having tea and connecting with my wife every morning. So you see, I've got commitments in my morning routine for which I choose to be responsible. And these commitments also are inspiring to me. And when you become practiced at being responsible for your commitments, it feels good. And if you're a human, which I assume you are, we're always looking for ways to feel good and avoid feeling bad. So to recap, Jesse, it's time to make some commitments to things that actually inspire you. That's going to be your opportunity to be responsible. And if you really want to take it to that next level, then get an accountability partner in your life. Let them know what you're doing, what you're up to, and report back to them when you've kept your word. Not necessarily just when you haven't. Report back to them your wins, when you've kept your word. You see, high-level commitment and high-level accountability close the gap between intention and result. You can do this, and I believe in you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to chat with Des Phelps and what kids are learning through playing. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are talking today with Des Phelps from Chelan, where she runs a pretty cool program for the youth in the area, and it's all about playing volleyball, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and is it beach volleyball and indoor volleyball?
Yes, both.
All right, cool. Well, I've got some questions for you, and we're going to get into why I wanted you to be here today. But first of all, just tell us about when you became a coach. How'd that all happen?
Well, actually, I knew when I was a high school athlete that I wanted to be a coach. And at that time, I was a basketball player and ended up going to college on a basketball scholarship, and knew through all of those years that I wanted to coach, so therefore I got a teaching degree. Mm-hmm. And actually, in my first couple of years of teaching, got volleyball coaching jobs and really enjoyed teaching the game of volleyball a lot. And so that just kept going and kept going and kept going.
Right. So you were teaching inside of a school and also coaching within that school. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We started in Ephrata, actually.
Okay. Now, did you grow up in Chelan?
Yeah. My husband and I both graduated from Manson High School.
Oh, from Manson. I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell me, what do you love about coaching all these boys and girls that I see running around on the sand out there?
Well, you know, that's a big question. There's a lot that I love about it. On the actual game side of things, the coaching of the person, I love that we get to teach kids that failure is part of the process of learning, and that you just have to keep going, and that every time that they get really close and don't get the outcome they want, they get up and try again in a really supported environment, so they are feeling like they're given permission to make mistakes and not be perfect.
Yeah.
I also love that sports teaches a lot of perseverance, that you just have to keep going. You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I really don't think our society does a great job of teaching that these days in a lot of ways. So I like seeing that instilled in our young people.
Yeah. And I like what you said, that you want to have a structure where they feel supported in this, because that's the thing that I've noticed. As you know, my stepdaughter is one of the players that you're coaching, and she totally feels supported. And we've had kids go through other sporting programs, and that element seemed to be missing in a number of them, and so it's really evident that that's there in this program, and so my hat's off to you for putting that in place. Thank
you. Beyond that, I just love getting to connect with young families. Our kids are basically grown now and out of our house, and my husband and I have been able to meet a lot of really great people and young families with young kids, and that relationship piece is just, you just can't put a quantity or price tag on that. So I see kids in the grocery store, or when I go to other sporting events or school activities, and they run up and always give hugs, and that's just it for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of connection, right?
Yeah, tons of connection.
Yeah, so. That's great.
Yeah.
So what are some of those life skills? Because you're obviously imparting coaching skills about the game, but what are some of the life skills that you want them to walk away with, like after they're all done with this program? You're like, I hope they got,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go back to our name and why we chose that name. Our name is Kahiau. And that was really, really intentional. Kahiau is a Hawaiian word, and it means to give unconditionally. And that's also our mission statement. And that's the first thing that we talk about when kids join our program is we tell their parents the first thing that your kids are going to be exposed to is an atmosphere where they're expected to give first.
I love it.
And so that's, and the name reminds us of that daily. I've got an amazing group of coaches that help us, and they've all bought into that concept. And so that's where we started, and for lots of reasons, but after 25 years of coaching in other areas, I just if I was going to do something outside of schools and on our own, I wanted it to be centered around that. We also are big on how we measure success in our program.
And how do you do that?
Well, there's a quote that I came across probably 20 years ago. And it is success is not measured by wins and losses, but by who you become in the process.
I love it.
And that's really what we continually tell these kids, and that goes hand in hand with our failure's okay, messing up is okay, making mistakes is okay. It's one more step closer to what you want to be and where you want to be, and that whole growth mindset. So that we define success for kids by where they started and where they finished, and not by whatever a scoreboard says or whoever came out in the wins and loss column. Don't get me wrong, we're very competitive people, and we have very high standards and expectations. But first and foremost, we want them to learn.
Sure.
That was a huge piece of what we go after every year. And then we also want to instill in the athletes that you have to find a purpose beyond yourself in this world. And there's a quote, John Wooden, I believe, you'll never reach your true potential until you belong to something bigger than yourself. And so we really work on that concept that not that your needs come last, but you do have to take into account all the other people that are on this team with you. And you give and you take, and you compromise sometimes, but you talk and you discuss and you find a way to make things work, because that translates to families and partners and workspaces and all of those areas of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are kind of our platforms, and then we use the game of volleyball to teach it to kids so they don't really know.
Right.
They're like thinking they're learning how to play volleyball, but really they're learning how to interact and be a part of something bigger.
I love that. You kind of bury and sneak in all this great philosophy.
Yeah, like vegetables, right?
Right, yeah. And I know for our daughter Camille, man, she totally is very conscious about the principles that you're talking about, because she talks about, like, I think they have a goal, they have to do some journaling about goals, and she talked about the meaning of Kahiau, and so I love that you got all this going into this program. They're just out there to have fun.
Yeah.
And they're learning the good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
So tell me how it's grown over the past few years, because it seems like there's been exponential growth.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
It's crazy. So we're headed into our 6th season, and in the world of club volleyball, your season kind of begins in November, and then it through indoor, and then we start sand in April, and we finish that in August. So it we kind of run with the kids from November to August. So we're headed into it's our 6th season. My first year on the indoor side, we had 3 teams, and when we went outside, we didn't have any sand courts, so we trained on the grass, and I had 15 kids. This year, we're expecting 9 or 10 indoor teams, and then probably about 125 kids on the sand.
Whoa.
And we have 4 sand courts now.
Wow.
So, yeah, in 6 years, it's incredible. I never would have imagined that our valley, the Lake Chelan Valley, and granted, we do have kids that come from other areas. We have some Wenatchee kids that come up. We have some from Brewster and Pateros and up the Methow, and some from the Lake Roosevelt area as well. But the bulk of the programming is supported by families in the Chelan and Manson Valley, and it's I never ever in my wildest dreams imagined we'd have those kinds of numbers, and boys too.
Yeah, and there's a number of boys that play.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's a testament that you're doing something right.
Oh, thank
right?
you.
You're being effective. And if you were to could narrow it down to like 1 or 2 things, what do you think is the reason you're experiencing that level of success?
Well, first of all, we really strive to be consistent so that parents know what they can expect and what they're going to get for their dollar. And I'm very, very choosy about who gets the right to coach these kids. And it's a privilege. So the people that do interact with these kids are there for the right reasons and have bought into the things that we've previously talked about.
Yeah.
So it's really a consistent program that it's not for everybody, but it is what it is, and it's that way all the time.
Nice. Yeah, and it's just a lot of hours. You guys put in a lot of hours. The kids put in a lot of hours. They work hard.
They do.
Yeah, I
do.
see it when they come home. They're like, "Wow, that was a tough workout."
That
right?
was a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good stuff. Hey, we're going to
Thank
take a
you.
quick break.
Okay.
Then we'll be back to chat a little more with Des. Stay with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Live It Up. We're talking with Des Phelps. We're talking about volleyball and all those valuable lessons that the kids are getting, even though they may not be aware that they're getting while playing. So I would like to ask you now, what's a cool story that you have about 1 or 2 of the kids that you've seen where they've had some personal growth through this process?
Okay. Well, a typical story is we get a lot of timid young players that come in, and they're pretty shy, and they're not sure of themselves, and within usually the first 2 weeks or so, they start to feel a little better about themselves and a little more comfortable, and then about the 3-month mark seems to be kind of that mark where we start to see them evolve, and their personality starts to show. They interact more verbally. Their confidence is growing, and they've let us in.
Yeah.
They let you in. Their guards drop, and they begin to trust us, and then we start making huge gains with them physically. But that's a pretty typical story. We see that a lot with kids. The insecurities at first that they hide behind, and then eventually those fall away, and we get to see the real them. But one of my favorite success stories, a young man came to us last summer, and we started a beach program for boys, and he joined that. And he was just really, really tough on himself, just really not kind to himself. And to the point where it really hampered him from being able to compete. Incredible young athlete, and lots of gifts, but just really, really hard on himself mentally, and not forgiving, and didn't allow himself much grace. So we just started working on that with him. He continued through the indoor with us, and it continued to be a point of emphasis for him. Along the way, we coach him how to serve and how to pass and all of those things, but really, as a coaching staff, we really just continued to remind him to be kind to himself and allow himself to make mistakes. And this summer, he returned back to the beach with us. And, you know, maturity happens and they grow, and we just kind of try and walk beside them through that process. And this summer, he just grasped the game, had a smile on his face,
Nice.
kept his chin up, was a great teammate to his partner, tons of positive energy coming out of him, and verbalizing a lot of positive things. So I see things like that, and for me, that's just like win, 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 win for us. So those are the best stories.
That's the good stuff. When
Yeah.
if you can teach somebody some self-compassion, oh my gosh, and then they're going to take that into the other areas of their life.
Yeah.
That's like a huge gift.
Yeah.
Right? That's worth the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
So real quick here, I always enjoy asking this question. It doesn't have anything to do with volleyball, but what is something in your life that you always thought you were right about, and then one day something happened, or you read something, or there was an interaction, and you realize, oh my gosh, that is not right or accurate at all.
Yeah.
You have something, realization like that?
Sure, and it does tie back to my coaching, and it was back probably in my late 20s. Maybe I was 30, I don't know, but it was that day when I realized that my job wasn't to teach them to win. And then that translated to my parenting, to my marriage relationship, to lots of other areas of my life, that it really wasn't up to me to make them winners on the scoreboard. That there were a lot of other things I could do for them and for myself, you know, in hindsight.
Yeah.
But that was a huge aha moment for me, having been a collegiate athlete, and everything I had been raised with was push for the win. It's about the win. It's about the win. And so when I redefined what win was and was able to, it just changed my whole outlook.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer. Thanks for sharing that. All right. And I've seen you've got a lot of demands on your time, right? From parents, all these kids,
Yeah.
phone calls, texts, emails,
Yeah.
the touring, and all that kind of stuff. What do you do to decompress and take care of yourself?
Well, I try to exercise, which consists of lots of things in my world. Going for a walk, or I stacked wood on Sunday. I consider that exercise. You know, just try to stay active and be up and moving. That helps a lot with anxiety and stress for me. Also, you know, we try to spend as much time with our kids as we can. They're, like I said earlier, they're grown for the most part, but we try to carve out time in everybody's schedule to be together. I don't read a lot, but I do listen to books a lot.
Sure.
So that's a way of decompressing for me. So those are probably...
Good. So you got some me time there, right?
I do.
Oh,
I
good.
do.
That's
Early
important.
mornings like you. I enjoy those early morning times.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time. I just want to thank you and
Thank you.
Acknowledge you, and just let you know that how appreciated you are for the difference that you are making in
Thank
our
you.
children's lives.
Thank you.
It's tangible, so I appreciate
Thank
it. All right, now it's time for you guys to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something that this world needs, and I believe in you.